After what feels like an eternity, we finally did it. We were able to film my short film, Silent. And cut!
That's a cut.
That was very different.
That was good though. It was
Cut,
good.
cut.
That was good. Those of you who are new here, my name's Justin Winch. I'm the writer-director of the short film Silent, a fantasy action film that's kind of trying to meet in between John Wick and Lord of the Rings. The goal is to use this short film to then pitch and fund a feature film. And last year we did a fundraiser to help make that happen. We were able to raise over $8,000, which allowed us to film for 3 full days with a full cast and crew. And of course, with a lot of volunteer hours, but we're able to make it happen to the quality that we hope will get people interested and excited and be able to see the vision of the project. The original goal was to try to film in the fall of 2025, but after hitting a number of roadblocks and scheduling issues, we had to push, and eventually we chose a date in April as the point of no return. Essentially, my friend Ian, the producer, and I decided that we had to set a date that no matter what, like, even if I couldn't make it to the shoot, we would make it happen on that day. One, because we had raised money, and to honor the donation from everybody involved, we wanted to meet the deadline. We wanted to give them the product that they had paid for. And two, we're getting old. No, I'm just kidding. But I'm like, I just turned 31 and I'm wanting to get moving on my career. And so I was just like, we got to just make something. If we're going to make a feature film of this, we've got to get started sooner than later. And the longer we wait to make the short, the longer the feature film takes. And so we're just like, we've got to make it happen, rain or shine. And boy, was there rain and hail and wind, but we were able to do it. I'm working on a whole behind the scenes video that I want to make something quality and something that people can enjoy and really get into all the details of how filming actually went. But just to give you a little brief overview, essentially over the winter, we decided to wait to film until spring. And during that time, people's schedules change, opportunities come up. And so our director of photography, Asher, who's incredible, had to back out of the project due to some scheduling conflicts. And such a bummer. He had put in so much effort into helping us prep the vision and how we were going to shoot it and what would look best. We were able to use all of that prep, and my friend Byron Kirkland, who I've worked with on a number of projects for work and otherwise, was able to step in, and he's also really amazing. And so it's such a blessing to have him just jump in and kind of pick up where we left off. And then some of our lead actors, had other commitments. So the man who's going to play the captain, who's kind of the bad guy, he landed a role on a show or a movie, a big project. We were able to recast Chris Gallegos. Incredible. Chris did so well. And then one of the characters in the short film is a woman, the wife of the protagonist. And, she sings a song in the short film, so we wanted a singer. And Colette, who was going to play that role, also had other commitments because she's a very busy musician and performer. Luckily, Ari Bagley, who also auditioned for the role, who, it's hard when you have so many talented people wanting to be a part of something, because it's like, how do I even decide? And she was still interested and stepped into the project. There were just a lot of things going on as we prepped for the spring, and I felt really optimistic. And really, it was just, I hope I can stay healthy, not get sick or anything, because I'm going to be there no matter what to make this film happen. And then about 2 weeks before the shoot date, a few complications occurred, and the stunt team who had been working on the project had to back out. Sometimes that's just the way things go. They're all incredible, and I'm so grateful for all the effort that all of them had put into, for the previs, and they practiced so much, but sometimes that's just how it happens. And it was kind of this really intense moment where Ian and I had put out into the universe that we were going to shoot on this day no matter what. And in losing the stunt team, we also, lost the wardrobe stuff has to change. And also it's an action film, so that's a whole bit that has to then be changed as well. We still had Logan Ori, the lead actor, playing the man. He was stalwart from the beginning to the end, always down to make this happen, which is incredible, because when I think of this character, it's always been him. So we were like, we've got the lead actor, we've got some of the other characters, and I had this feeling inside of me that we're gonna make it work. And so we just moved forward, reaching out, seeing if we could find other stunt people who'd be interested. We were able to get connected to Corbett, and he is incredible, has worked on projects like The Chosen, as their stunt coordinator, super experienced. And not only did he agree to come onto the project, but was very down to we had to change the choreography with some of his stunt connections, and we're able to come up with a smaller team and dial something in within the week and a half that we had before the shoot date. Kind of terrifying to just, not be incredibly prepared for what was going to come. I feel like that's just how big projects work sometimes, where you can do as much prep as you want, but then, you can't control the universe. And so that prep just kind of helps. It's the good karma, And so sorry, I'm just yapping. Other people who stepped in, I'm probably going to miss, some names. So many people came into the last minute just to make incredible things happen. Ian's friend, Sunny, she stepped in to do the wardrobe, and she did an incredible job. Yeah, and then come shoot day, we pulled together an incredible team of, our first and second ADs, the PAs, the makeup crew. Everybody just showed up and did an incredible job and brought this, overwhelming enthusiasm. And that was something that made the experience really special for me, because this is an idea that I've had for a long time, and I've put in a lot of effort before, in the pre-production. I've never directed anything really. I did 1 or 2 commercials in the past, but I've never, nothing of this scale. So to show up on set really nervous, really vulnerable, and have everybody be so excited, and we would do a stunt or do an effect or a moment, and for everyone to say, "This is so exciting. This is exactly the kind of stuff I want to work on. I'm so happy to be a part of this project." I got emotional multiple times. I was just an open wound on set, crying all the time, because every time we would set up a scene and film it, it was exactly how I had imagined it. And then everybody was so pumped for how it was turning out. And in my mind, it couldn't have gone any better. That being said, we did run into a lot of not to spoil too much, but our second day of filming was we had a horse on set. We had all the cast there, and that's just when it happened to rain and hail, and the wind was really strong. And it kind of at the end of the day, the footage looks pretty epic because of all of the weather. That's stuff you can't, on our budget, you can't make happen. I guess you can pay for hail and wind when you're Hollywood. And one of the things I'm most proud of, and I learned a lot. Let's just put that out there, that every day I came home after shooting and was one part elated, another part I think I just ruined everything. There's definitely so much to learn about being a director, but the number one is just having a good team and people you trust, because that was every step of the way. Byron, the DP, would be "Are you sure you want it like that?" And I'd look and I'd be "Honestly, no." And then he'd give a suggestion, and I'm "Well, yeah, that looks way better." That was consistently happening. But then there's also opportunities where I felt like I had the courage, and they're my friends, so I was able to be "Let's try and change things up," or "I want to do something a little different," and they trusted me, and I think it turned out at least how I imagined it. So, how much battery is left? Oh, crap. I gotta get a charger connected to this. But one of the things I'm most proud of is by the end of the third day of shooting, we had shot everything we wanted to, plus we finished on time with every day everyone went home on time. And that's something that I'm just really sensitive to. Is I know it's really easy to just get caught up in the moment and to push everyone further than maybe they were expecting or they're comfortable with, but I feel like morale is huge when it comes to having a project go well, especially at this budget, right? And I'm really proud of that. Yeah, there was probably some moments where I think I probably should have done a few more takes. So definitely a lesson learned. So we did it. We filmed the film in the end of April. And then I went right into editing. I kind of prepped the project in a way, the storyboard and everything was more or less how I wanted it to be edited. And we had a B camera operator who was grabbing, some detail shots and some zooms and some details of the forest and the woods and stuff. So that was kind of we'll just see what we can get in the moment. I wasn't going to be "I need this shot of a tree that looks exactly like this, and you're going to go until you find it." I was we'll just see how it looks, the day of. And so obviously our B cam operators came up with incredible shots. So editing went pretty quick, mostly because that's the one, like, that is my thing, and I knew what I wanted, for better or for worse, right? We'll see if people like my vision, but I'm really happy with where the edit ended up, and we had to make a few adjustments. Some things didn't work quite how I hoped, but with the help of the whole team, everybody reviewing the project, we were able to come up with some good solutions, and that's leads us to where we're at now in the post-production process. Because first, it's editing, and then you send it to the specialist, the colorist, sound engineers, visual effects, and don't even get me started on the music. So I originally had written a song for the character, the woman, to sing in the short film, and then I had this idea of the whole soundtrack being played by a cello, just like this singular instrument that represents well, I don't want to spoil it. I want to see what you guys think. I want to see what you guys think when you see it. So I'm not going to go into too much detail. But long story short, that's something I wanted to happen. Wasn't sure if it was possible. Was kind of, then once we filmed and we're getting into post-production and trying to figure out how to make that happen, my friend Brendan knew a cellist who he recommended, Aaron. Incredible. Aaron is incredible. And he was super down for the project, and I kind of showed him, the direction I wanted the song to go. And I had written some melodies, and we had some examples from other films of the style. So it was kind of laid out, not your traditional like score that's composed, but I was like, here's what I've got, because, I did music theory and stuff in high school and college. So like, believe it or not, at some point I wanted to be a film composer until I realized it's super competitive and hard. But so I had some ideas, and then he just went with it. And oh man, when I first heard what he came up with, I was like, have I ever mentioned that I have cried a lot out of gratitude? Well, that was one of those moments, just chills. So I cannot wait for you guys to hear the score in context of the film, but also just as a standalone. So you guys are in for a treat. There's been some great sessions with our colorist, Jaron, who has really dialed in the cinematic look. Byron, the DP, he has a vision on set, and then so he sits down with Jaron and they come up with this vision together, and then I, have a few ideas overall, but they really were able to dial in something beautiful. And then my friends Doug and Brendan did the sound design, and they're crazy professionals. And so one, just kind of cleaning everything up, there's not a lot of dialogue in the film, but having it be outside, and I want it to feel raw and authentic. But when it's windy and stuff, there's, there are some things that need to be adjusted. And then the sound design. And I tried to help them out as much as I could in the edit, because when you've got a movie that's action and there's stunts and stuff, that one of the biggest things to sell all of those hits is the sound design. And then my friend Bryson is helping with the visual effects. And in theory, it's not a visual effects movie. There's not just full CGI characters walking around, but there are lots of moments that, a lot of little details, especially with the action, where if somebody's getting slashed with a knife or shot with an arrow, we weren't actually doing that to people. Believe it or not, I know. So there's lots of details like that are super important to selling the action, and will take, do take a lot of time and take a lot of experience to be able to do that properly. And so I'm really excited to have Bryson on board because he's super talented. Maybe it's overdone in the art community right now, but I don't want to use any AI generated imagery, or, really, we didn't use AI for anything, at least to my knowledge. I don't really like writing the script and everything. I just rather it be raw, and if there's any mistakes that people didn't catch, then that's part of the film, as opposed to running it through ChatGPT or anything like that. That's just something that personally I don't want to do. But no disrespect to anybody who feels one way or the other. That's just how we're choosing to move forward with this project. So does that take a little bit more time in some elements? Yes. Do I think that the quality and the end result will be more impactful? Yeah, I do. And that's where we're at. We also have my friend Chris, who helped us out with the storyboards and the pitch deck for the fundraiser. He's come back to make the poster for the film, which I'm so excited. There's there's so many things, there's so many elements in making this happen. And you just, when he reached out and was like, what are your thoughts on the poster? I totally forgot that was even a thing. I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, we probably should get that prepped because the deadline's coming up. I don't know if you guys remember this, but the goal for the fundraiser was to deliver the final product by August, and August is just around the corner. So we're hitting up against the deadline, but not just, I recognize that a lot of you who donated to the fundraiser would probably be fine if we didn't meet the deadline for whatever reason. But there's another reason we need to meet it because film festivals. We want to submit this to a bunch of film festivals to see what people think, maybe garner some interest from potential investors. And the first festival that we want to submit to is also at the end of August. So it's crunch time and we're pushing, we're moving, and I'm really excited for you guys to see what's coming. If you donated to the project, to the fundraiser, then we will send you a link of the finished short film as soon as it's done. Your digital ticket and premiere, if you will. And then for those of you who didn't know about it or didn't donate, we will make sure to have an option for you to see it pretty quick after the release. We're not going to post it anywhere public like YouTube or Vimeo until it's done with the film festival run and however long that takes. I do apologize for those of you who are super, super excited, but just learning about it. But like we'll come up with options to share that, whatever makes sense for this project. Oh, and then there's the question of the other rewards for the Indiegogo campaign, like the D&D campaign and the character models and the feature-length script. So all of those are in the works. I do apologize because those will be delayed. Our main focus, has been making the short film actually happen, and the other rewards are, we have been working on the D&D campaign. We're figuring out the best way to print figures and ship them. That stuff is all kind of, new. And I was maybe a little overzealous when I thought of all the things that we could offer. I feel like that's kind of a classic fundraising thing to do. Those are in the works. They are going to happen. Just might take a little bit longer. And I appreciate your patience during that process. The one that I'm trying my best to stay on target with is the feature-length script. So I've had the outline dialed in for a while, but actually sitting down and writing, the script from top to bottom, it's been hard to get to because we're so focused on the short. But now I'm all in, and I'm still trying to finish at least the first draft of the full script by the end of August. The reward is that you guys will get a copy of the feature script, which probably won't come right away because, we're going to do some rounds of revision. But that's my current goal. And the reason it needs to happen so soon is because if we want to produce the feature film, investors are going to need to see what it's going to be. And we need to also figure out the budget. We need to plan how we're going to film all these shots and what it will take to do that. And we can't do any of that until we have the full script done. As much effort as it has taken to make this short film, this 7-ish minute short film happen, it might be more or less, don't quote me on that, but as much effort and time as it has taken to make that happen, this is just the beginning. I am determined to make the full feature project. With how well the short went, it has shown me that it's possible to do something of this scale and quality, to make a fantasy story that isn't in your face about the lore, but that builds with relatable and intense characters, that takes itself seriously and invites you into a world and invites you to use your brain and your imagination to understand what's happening, and that trusts you as the audience. So I'm determined to make it. And if all goes well and all my dreams come true, then it won't just be one film, but it will be a trilogy. Call me crazy. Or don't. I'm very sensitive. But yeah, I think that's everything. Thank you for watching and for this update. If you've made it to the end, congratulations. I'm going to try and film more updates as things happen, maybe post some shorts on YouTube and Instagram, or make longer videos like this one. I just figured you guys ought to know where everything's at. I cannot be, like I said, I cried a lot on set out of pure gratitude. I could not be more grateful for everyone's help in making this happen. Everyone who helped in pre-production, who donated, who showed up on set and who is currently helping in post-production. I don't have a number, but like I think at this point over 120 people, in total have been involved in this project. And that's just a short film. Like that's crazy. That's crazy, guys. Feel free to follow if you want to stay in the know. And liking and commenting the videos is always awesome, because at the end of the day, it's really cool to make something, but it's even better when people like know about it and want to watch it. So all of that like helps these videos get traction and, the marketing apparatus. So really appreciate you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.